Today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking the barrels off and the pistons out. I'm not going to be putting the new ones in today because I don't have the base gasket for the barrels yet. But what I'm going to do before I take the pistons out and take the barrels off is I'm going to measure the deck height. That is the distance between the flat of the piston and the surface of the cylinder head, because I want to actually compare these pistons with the new pistons to see what the difference in compression ratio is. But I don't have all the required tools to do that, so I'm going to have to make some stuff. And yes, my t-shirt is on back to front because that's how I put it on this morning, and that's the rule. You can't change it, you've got to go with it, otherwise it's bad luck. This is my neck jig. I used to use this when I used to build guitars. This actually keeps the neck of the guitar straight while you work on it with the strings off. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow one of these dial gauges off of it. I don't actually make guitars anymore. I used to repair and make guitars and had a little business going with it. But it was one of them things, I was selling my time for money and it was so time consuming, it just wasn't worth it. So now I prefer to make a living from making content instead of actually selling my time for money. Right, once again I've raided me scrap bin and I'm using the fishing spear again. This is coming really handy, this bit of spear for aluminium tube. So I'm just going to cut a couple of bits of this off. That was a good catch. Right, the reason I've actually used the actual head bolts to do this is because it's actually also, and these sleeves, it's bolting the barrels down, because if they were loose and I just set a magnet on top or something, they'd be moving up and down, so I wouldn't be able to get the deck height accurate. So now the barrels are actually held down. Right, so first thing I'm going to do, I've got my dial gauge bolted on this so it's not moving, and it's just sitting on the edge of the piston there. I'm going to actually get the engine to top dead center. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the piston up, turn the engine over to bring the piston up until it goes as far as it's going to go, and then it starts going down again. So now I'll go back to the furthest point. Right there, that's top dead center. So now we're going to measure how far down the piston actually is. It's very, very close to the edge. So we're going to zero that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my straight edge. This is another tool I used to use when I repaired guitars. This is how you check that a neck is straight, or how straight the neck is. And these little slots, they go over the frets, so you can lay it on the guitar neck like that. But it's a great straight edge for this sort of thing. So the tops of the barrels are nice and clean. I'm going to slide that underneath my dial gauge there and make a note of how much that's moved up, which is 138 thousandths of an inch. Oh, this is interesting. This is imperial because it's American and I'm metric. Okay, I can work that out though. So what I'm doing now is I'm just bolting this on in a different place so that I can actually measure the thickness of my straight edge. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the distance. Well, I'm actually just measuring the thickness of this, and then I'm going to subtract that from my other measurement, and that will give me the deck height. 1.28. So it's 10 thousandths the deck height, I believe, if I'm right. So now it's just a case of pulling the barrels off of the pistons. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the engine over a bit so that they're both at the same sort of height. Just try and free that gasket off. Rag under there a bit. It's going to be interesting getting them back in again, I reckon. I'm probably going to need about 10 pairs of hands. Stick it under there so they don't. There, that's the barrels off. Now's a good time to mark these pistons so I know which one's which. But I'm just going to take a photo of them because that one's 18, that one's 17. So that'll work. Bores all look good. You've still seen honing marks in there, so that's all good. There's a lot of crap on the pistons. I think that's just down to crap fuel we have here in Australia though. So now it's just a case of getting this clip out and then I can get the pin out and get the piston off. What I've done is I put a rag all around here because these little clips go flying and a lot of the time you can't find them, so I just want to make sure they don't go in the engine. So I don't know if you can see that, but I need to turn that clip around so it's in that groove so we can pop it out. I'll try and put my hand over here so this clip doesn't go flying. You get new ones with new pistons, but you need to be accountable for stuff so you know where it is. And hopefully that should just push out of there. That's good. Pushes straight out. And the piston comes out. You have a look there, there's a little arrow on it. That points to the front of the engine. That's what it looks like inside the engine. So you've got the conrods there, the crankshaft here with the counterweights on it. This gear down here I would assume goes down to your balance shaft, and this end of it goes up to your camshaft, and then that gear there will go to your gearbox and clutch. I've already forgotten which piston's which, but luckily I filmed it so I know which one's which. But what I'm going to do is on my new pistons I'm going to write down 18 because that one's 18 and 17 on the other one. That way I can get the right piston rings on it and I know what cylinder it goes in. So to get the rings off, it's just a case of very carefully, because they are quite delicate. You wouldn't think so being in an engine going through the abuse that they go through, but they're not designed to, they're designed to be squeezed together, not opened up, so they can break fairly easily if you're not careful. Just sort of work them off like that. I don't know if these ones go up a certain way. I think these ones can go either way, but basically you want everything to go back in the engine how it was, because it's burnished to the cylinder wall, so you want it up the right way and in the right cylinder. So that's the top one, that's the middle one. So it might be a bit more difficult because I think we'll just move it up to the next slot first. like that, and then move it up and out like that. There you go. Right, the oil control ring. It's actually made up of 3 parts, I believe. Yeah, there's an upper and lower. That's the top one. I'm laying everything down in order so I know where it goes. And now I'm going to get them onto the new piston so I don't lose them and I know where they go and they don't get broken. So we'll just do that the opposite of what we did. Oh, does that hook over? That might hook over that actually, like that. Better have a look on the other one. So no, that doesn't hook over itself, it just butts up to itself like that. I had a look in the trusty manual and it said the ends butt up to each other, they don't overlap. So I'm glad I looked at that. So let's get this lower ring on. So what we do is we stagger these slots in the rings. So this lower oil control ring is on this side, so the slot for it. So the upper control oil ring, we're going to have to slot that side for it. I don't know how well the camera's picking all this up. Probably better than my eyes, I can't see it that well. I'm going to clean this all off again before I go back in. I don't have my barrel gasket yet, so it's not going in yet. But I'm just putting all this together so I don't lose these rings. Yeah, that's that one. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to clean this piston up and I'm going to measure these cavities in the tops of the pistons, because I want to know where the difference in compression is, if there is a difference in compression. It might be the position of the pin. Right, it's a different t-shirt because it's a different day. So in the next video I'll be measuring the pistons and I'm going to be measuring the combustion chamber in the cylinder head as well. So we're going to work out the compression ratios roughly to see how different the forged pistons are. I don't have the gaskets for it yet, but I'll have them in a couple of days and then that's when we can put the engine back together. I'm making these videos quite long so I can get as much information in as I can. I do actually cut an awful lot of it out, because things that I take for granted and many other mechanics would probably take for granted as well, other people don't know about and would like to learn about. So I try and get as much information in for you as I can. And I'm also putting timestamps in the description as well, so once you've watched the video and you want to go back and refer to stuff, you know where to go. I get a lot of people asking me technical advice on how to do stuff in the comments, which is fine, and I'll try and answer it because I've got time to do that while the channel is the size it is at the moment. And also, a couple of occasions I've actually made videos to help people out, to show them what they've asked about. So if there's anything you'd like to see me make a video about, if there's anything you'd like to know, then ask me in the comments and maybe I'll make a video about it as well. If you want to get in touch as well but you don't want to go on the comments, then my direct me link is in the description below and on the banner for the channel. So that will take you across to my direct me page where all my links are for all the stuff I do. So also for my coaching and mentoring stuff's there as well. So stay healthy, drink plenty of water and have a great day. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and drop a like on this video and all that good stuff too.